Hey y'all, it's Moonlight Cowboy, and today we're going to learn how to build on top of a Powerline pylon. Now, if you know how to build on one, you can build on pretty much all of them. They all are about the same. There are some nuances though that we are going to cover during this tutorial, so I'll go ahead and get you started. First, it's how to get there. First way, the easiest way, find one that's close to a cliff. The one by White Spring is a good example. There's also one down in the ash heap that you can get to if you're really good with a jetpack, but most of them you're going to need to scale them. Now, I created a tutorial a long time ago on how you can build to get up there, and that's time consuming, so I'm going to show you the express elevator to get up there. And I have a tutorial on how to do this as well. So I have one called Fly Sky High, and if you really want to know how to do this in detail, you can look at that video. In the meantime, we're going to do the Fly Sky High method with this here. This is a turret. I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to get directly in the center of it. I'm going to pick it up, and then while in midair from jumping, I'm going to use my right joystick, and it's going to fly me up here. Now, if you notice I put goat legs on, you can also use power armor or something else like that, because this is a long fall. So if you don't have some kind of way to protect yourself, I'm also using a jetpack there to control my descent. But yeah, you'll die if you don't have some way to protect yourself from fall damage. All right, so next thing, this is really important. Just make sure that your camp device is super centered in this on top of the pylon, because your build radius basically takes you almost end to end on the ends of the pylon. So if it's off at all, you'll know right away. Next thing, and this is also super important, you need to start your build on top of a small camp item. I use this, which is the foot locker, only because then I can get the really straight lines. If you don't do that, then you're going to run into an issue where you're not going to be able to put roofs or floors down. It's going to say intersecting. So what's really important also is your first item that you put down. Look at those diamonds and see how straight they are going down the pylon. So if you don't have that, you don't put your first stairs post perfectly straight down and perfectly centered, it's going to make your whole build off. So that's going to take you the longest part of this tutorial. Now look, I extended that out. Look how perfect that is sitting on top of the edge of that pylon. Now I can't actually place it because it's past the build area, but you can see when I put it there, like, it is perfect. Like, I'm going to zoom in right now and you can see how in between those are. So that's what you're looking for, and it's going to take you time. Could take you some hours. It took me almost an hour and a half to get it there. Once you get it in position, you get your wall up, your first wall up off of that, and then once you have that, I like to put a stairs post out of the way. And that way I have like a little key that I can go back to. If I screw something up, I can always start over from that without having to go through all the trouble of finding that perfect center. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start my roofs, because I use roofs as floors. For those who use floors as floors, I discourage that, only because if you screw up, you can't go back and fix it, and you're required to use stairs. Now what I'm doing here is I extended that out to come off of the bottom of that wall. So if you notice, I attached the roof to the bottom at an angle, and there's a reason for that. Normally I could have done it a different way, but when you're trying to put a door in, that's one of two ways that you can make it happen without doing any kind of weird afterthought, like trying to fit a door in there. So you can do that by using that technique and starting with a roof at the bottom of your door. But we're going to cover a different one, because we're going to do some crazy stuff with this one. So I also want this to be thick. I don't want a thin layer of flooring. I want it to have like a dual purpose. Like, I want to have a lower railing, and I want to have some space between the roofs to hide stuff. So this trick that you're seeing right here, I've done in many tutorials now. I think it's kind of a signature move. Basically, this is a trick to be able to raise and lower your roofs by exactly one roof level. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. I have plenty of tutorials on that as well, but I wanted to show it to you, and I'm going to show it later on as well. But I went ahead and did that trick about 5 times to get the roof to be about 5 levels higher than the roof below it. And that'll give me what I like to refer to as a crawl space, although I can't actually crawl down there. And this is great for things like hiding power, hiding your camp device, and you can even do some pretty cool merges in this as well. If you like take the item, destroy it, or destroy the roof that it's on, and then you put a roof over it, you can merge stuff down into it like as if you were sinking it into foundation. Now, the next thing we're going to do is add our underpinnings, air quotes underpinnings, because it's kind of weird to call them underpinnings since they are kind of above the ground. But anyways, I used that first wall that I placed, and I'm catwalking off of that. I'm getting a pretty good distance away, but I'm making sure that's lined up with my roofs. And once I got that, I'm going to go ahead and add another catwalk, because I want it to reverse the way the wall is facing. So we're going to remove those catwalks, get everything out of the way, and remove that top wall. And now I'm going to add another wall going the other way, and this way it's at the right level that I want it to be at too. So all right, so as you see, I'm going to add these catwalks heading towards the roof right there, and then once I do that, bam, I can add my wall. So again, this half wall is going to kind of be at an odd level, and that's going to make for great railings, and also makes the build look thicker up here rather than look like it's just like one plank, which, you know, is something that you can do, but I usually try and make things extra complicated for myself. So I'm showing you the extra complicated way as well as some of the easier ways today. So we have our platform now, and so now I feel good about removing that wall, plus I still have that stair post off yonder in case I need to use it for something, like if I make a mistake, right? All right, so next I need to find a spawn spot for my camp, like when people spawn in. So using catwalks, I have a blueprint for how to free place catwalks, and I have a tutorial on that as well. It's a catwalk tutorial. It's pretty good. So what I'm doing is I free place that, and then I'm going to destroy the catwalk and subsequently the wall next to it. And the reason I'm destroying that is because once you destroy a catwalk, you can then place another catwalk, attach it to it, and then remove that catwalk, and they're not actually attached to each other. So I did that, and then I placed my camp device right next to it, and now we're going to give it a try. Once I repair the roofs, I have a catwalk right next to my my camp device. And once I fast travel, let's see how this works. I already know, but you guys will see. I started right here, right next to that catwalk, right? So always keep your camp device over or right next to a set of stairs or catwalk in order to be able to fast travel up to your camp. So another thing that's cool is now we can also hide our power. I normally like to use the large fusion utility generator, but because there's not going to be a lot of space down there, I can circle in about 3 or 4 of these guys around my camp, and because of the level that I made it, it's going to hide this perfectly, and that's just going to be able to allow me to radiate power throughout my camp without having to mess with a bunch of wires and stuff. If you have trouble, you can always add more conduits down below too if you need to. All right, so now I'm going to show you the other way to do a door. So normally you would think, oh, I could just use my roof, I can angle it, and then using a catwalk and a wall, I can just throw a wall down, which you can, but when we try and attach a door to that wall that way, it's going to turn red, unfortunately, right? So, and that's because the walls actually sink down slightly into the roofs. So what we're going to do, we're going to have to do a little bit more work on this. So we're going to add a half wall to that angled roof. And then I'm going to add an angled roof to that. And then I'm going to flatten that. And I'm going to flatten the other roof. This way I can remove this half wall. All right, so now I'm going to add an angled roof to that, and I'm going to remove this other roof. And what I did basically is similar to what I talked about earlier with raising the roof a little bit. I just raised it just enough to where a wall will sit on top of the roof and allow me to place a door. So by adding that extra angled roof, it raised the wall level that much, just enough to where I can add that door. And I could have finagled a door in there by destroying the wall and adding a free place wall. But then I had to do that for anywhere that I wanted to place a door, and I just didn't feel like going through that kind of nonsense. So look, yeah, we can add a door, no problem. So that is going to be the wall that we use going forward for the rest of our build, so we can build our interior and exterior walls. Pretty cool. All right, so now I want to do this at an odd length. Normally, it's wall by wall, so 2, 4. I'm actually going to go 2.5 by 2.5 around this camp to give me a little bit of extra space inside. Still going to be a fairly small build in here. So first things first, I turn those walls into the abandoned mine set, the ones with the diagonal shape in them. And being able to do so will allow me to then put walls and merge them inside of those walls. So as you see here, and this is the basic way to do it. I'm actually going to show you the way that I'm going to do it because I want to double wall these, but I'm going to show you for those of you who only need one set of walls here. You could just do this right here, snap that in there, and because that abandoned mine wall is destroyed, it'll allow you to snap it right in, right? Pretty cool. But again, I've got to be complicated. So I have my abandoned mine wall there, and I'm going to add some walls on each side of that. 1, 2, and then I remembered that I also need to turn that into a different wall. So I went ahead and deleted it since I have this other wall already in place. Yeah, so because even though I can merge walls into the abandoned mine wall, they are hard to do face-to-face walls or double wall. So I just made one wall in the middle and 2 on the sides. And this is another thing that I have a tutorial on with my walls tutorial, where you don't need to have floors to be able to double wall. You can use catwalks, right? So, and there, we double walled that. And I'm going to do that for all of the walls around here. And I'm not going to drag you through all of them, but I'm going to show you what I normally do here to get the other walls in. Again, I didn't like the other glass walls, so what I used was the half walls. So I went from the ground to do that. Sometimes the roofs can be tricky going from the ground, so make sure you're using like the shortest catwalks. And if you're still having problems with it, just destroy the roofs and you should be able to get them in no problem. And then I like to, at this point, just kind of get a good idea where I'm at. So I wallpapered everything, and that's going to be what my structure looks like. So I added that little middle block, and that's going to be where I'm going to have my bathroom. So I'm going to design my whole camp around this. So I want to put in kind of a divider wall in the bathroom and also to divide part of the build for my bedroom. So to do that, I changed the one set of walls into the abandoned mine walls yet again. And once those are destroyed, there we go. I can use these catwalks, and I'm going to keep walking them back. And very similar process to the way I put the other double walls in. I'm showing you how to do it in the middle, and in the middle, if you're doing a bathroom, is great if you're going to have a shower and then a toilet area off the side, or it could be where your sink is. What I decided to do, which I didn't show on camera because it shows the same process basically anyway, except I went one wall further, was I actually took it 3/4 of the way down the wall, and I used a tub and then a very small space for the toilet. But anyways, yeah, so I basically just double walled this guy right here by deleting or adding that catwalk and deleting the other catwalks. There we go. Loading, there we go. Bam. See? So again, because we have the abandoned mindset, I was able to just merge those walls into each other. And what's cool about doing something like this, it really makes your camp a little bit more unique. You don't need a ton of space to decorate, just enough to fit your furniture, and less is more when it comes to stuff like this. So that's how that came out. Again, I moved my wall a little bit over, as you see right here, to fit in that bathtub, and I just placed those items to make sure they would fit. But that's what the finished result looks like for my walls inside. I also add a doorway to the side as well to create a bedroom right there. However, I don't believe that I showed this in the tutorial because it's basically the same process as we've done for virtually everything else with our walls today. So now we're going to move on to our roofs. So I want to double roof this, and I'm going to do something else too. I'm going to add the underpinnings to the top of my roof. However, I'm not going to show those today just because it's very easy to do, and I'll just walk through it briefly towards the end of this. So what we're going to do is we need to get those roofs. I want them to have the same overhang as the floor. So in a nutshell, I'm basically just using catwalks to try and get them back to the angle that the floor would be, so that way they sit exactly how I want them to. So I'm basically moving a wall way out here. That way I have some wiggle room to try and use the catwalks to kind of align that wall to where it would sit right over that corner over there on the ground. So now I'm just going to catwalk off of that, and this is going to take a few attempts. I probably could have done this in less attempts, but I actually messed up on a couple of the catwalk parts, but I went ahead and filmed all of it anyway. The big mistakes that you don't want to do when you're doing a build up here, I think the biggest one is obviously going to be your using stairs and floors, because if you, like I said before, if you place like 2 floors together or 2 stairs together or some combination of those, you will never ever get them unstuck. Other mistakes that I try to avoid, just even though I can fix them, is I try not to snap walls into other walls until I know that that's exactly where I want that wall to be. So we got the wall to about the right place, but I got to bring it over 1 more quarter because it's got that little bit of an overhang. So I'm going to extend that out a little bit by going 1 extra catwalk. And then when I double back around in a second, I'm basically going to do the exact same maneuver as I just did, except I'm going to do it without that little tiny catwalk in the way. So instead it'll be 1 angled without the little catwalk, without that one, and then another small, and my wall will be exactly where I want it to be, except that I will end up having to flip it going the other way, and I'll show you why in a second. Once your walls are in place, sometimes putting roofs on can be a little bit tricky. So to circumvent that, sometimes I'll flip my wall around so that way I can place my roofs in a little bit easier of a way. So if I get stuck going one way, I'll like flip the wall around to go the other way, like you'll see here. And there we go. So another thing too is a lot of times you'll struggle to lay them flat. You'll want to put them at an angle. So we're going to go ahead and remove that wall, and we'll remove the first roof that we put down to get the other one in place using the walls. And I'm going to angle it up. And they should all go in pretty easy. They can be a little tricky, but they should all go in. The other thing I'm going to do too is I want to double layer this like I talked about earlier. So I'm doing that same trick, which is basically angled roof, half wall, angled roof, half wall, flat roof. And then once I place that flat roof, I get rid of all the other roofs other than that first and last one that I placed. So I'll angle that one back down. And once I flatten this down, just like before, I will have my roof to be exactly 1 roof higher than the other roof. Because again, I want to double roof this. We didn't go through all this work to just have a single flat roof, right? And the reason I like to double roof, it adds a little bit more thickness, but also I like a lot of the undersides of roofs But like for like the clean ranch set, for example, I think the underside is gorgeous and I think the top side is hideous. So a lot of times I'll use the underside of that roof and then put something cooler for the top of that roof. Now, to do the underpinnings for the roofs, which I know we're going to touch on here in a second, all I did was catwalk off of those railing underpinning ones, went up a half wall, then catwalked back, and I added them around the way. It was pretty easy. So as you see here, I'm putting those roofs in at an angle, and I'm just kind of going back and forth with them. Now, in order to put the other set of roofs in that we've prepped for already, we have to destroy these roofs. And I found the perfect level for destroying roofs without really harming your walls is 3 of those tables and 2 of these little coffee tables. And once I add my flamey there, I will hit it, and you'll see it actually kicks out these roofs, hits those, but none of the walls get destroyed, which is kind of nice. I mean, it's just a minor inconvenience to have to repair them, but it is nice to not have to. So I went ahead and destroyed all those roofs. And now, because this isn't so close to the walls, I'll be able to snap these right in because they're not like technically intersecting with them. So this will be really easy. And again, after this, I just catwalked off of those underpinnings, went up a half wall, and then catwalked in the same distance, and then added my half walls. And I went all the way around the roof like that, which again is pretty easy. So that was the end result before I added those underpinnings. And this is how the camp looks after the fact. Again, you can do anything you want up here, but I just wanted to show you some of the techniques that I use when I'm building up here because it does really help out a lot. If you like what you saw, please share with your friends. Please subscribe. It really helps. Thank you so much for watching my content. I hope you all have a blessed day and stay safe out there. Thank you.